But there's this guy on the internet whose name is Avrona, and Avrona's problem is that he has a failing YouTube channel. That was true when I made my last video, and it is still true today. It should come as no surprise that he didn't take the advice I left him in my previous video. But recently, I've had a conversation with Avrona that taught me a little more about how he thinks and how he sees the world. So this video is going to be a little bit of a sequel to my previous video in that it'll expand upon and go deeper for the reasons as to why Avrona has all the problems that he has and why they keep happening and they never seem to stop happening, why Avrona seems to be cursed. And I think I found a very good explanation for all of that. So the conversation begins with him asking for feedback on the logo he uses for his site. And you can see immediately he gets defensive about it and he starts getting downvoted. So I call him out on being defensive, and of course he gets defensive about being defensive. So this sparks three big conversations. The first conversation is around Avrona's not being defensive, he's just getting better feedback from people. He's asking follow-up questions. And I try to explain to him, regardless of what his intent is with this behavior, it comes off as defensive. And when people perceive that, they start getting upset. His response to that is that he doesn't care. It's not his fault. It's everyone else's fault for getting upset, not his own. He's just trying to get good advice. He said, it's just pixels on a screen. I asked him, don't you care that you're hurting people because of this, even though you don't intend to it? Like, I'm telling you that because of your actions, people are getting hurt, and he doesn't care. He only cares about getting what he wants. He only cares about getting that good feedback. He only cares about making his YouTube channel grow. It doesn't care about who he hurts in the process, as long as he gets what he wants. He doesn't care about anyone else. That was the first red flag. So, okay, I thought I'd switch tactics. I tried to offer a suggestion to help him get the feedback that he wants and ask the follow-up questions that he wants, but without causing people to be upset, like go through either me or a trusted friend to phrase the follow-up question in a way that won't cause anyone to be upset. And Avrona rejected that advice. He said it would be, quote, handing the victory to you and admitting to being in the wrong. This reveals a lot. This is the second red flag where he evidently sees accepting advice as a difference between being victorious and being defeated. He sees things in terms of winning or losing. It's a matter of pride for Avrona. He would rather win and not take advice than be defeated and admit that he was wrong or that he could improve on something. He cares more about winning than he does about making improvements for his logo or for his YouTube channel. So that's why he's so resistant to taking advice. It's a matter of pride and it's about winning. It's not about being a better content creator, a better YouTuber. It's about winning. He even said that given the choice between continuing on his current path and continuing to get banned from subreddits, he would rather get banned than to, quote, kneel down to me, which would be to take my advice. He sees that as kneeling down, and he would rather risk getting banned than to take my advice. So at this moment, when I'm reading these words coming from Avrona, that was what prompted me to make this second video, because I felt that deserved having a closer look and needing to kind of unpack this and see the reasons behind that. There's a lot in there that is very worrying, and it's a huge red flag for anybody who has this sort of mindset. The third red flag comes from an offshoot of this conversation about saying thank you. I had noticed that he didn't thank either of the two people who offered him feedback on his logo. He argued with the first person, and he just completely ignored what the second person had to say. So I asked him why he wasn't saying thank you to these two people who took time to help him. And Avrona said in response that he only says thank you to people who actually help. So he has his own criteria for who deserves a thank you or not. And we can see in the other post that he's made, his criteria for saying thank you is it has to be new It has to be genuine. The person has to be genuine, and it needs to be posted by someone who deserves it. So even if you successfully help him, if he thinks that you, as a person, don't deserve to be thanked, you don't get thanked. So then I went and dug through the comment history and found like 15 people who gave him feedback on previous comments over the last 5 months, who he never even acknowledged, he never thanked, and he just returned that with a list of excuses. So, okay, he has his own criteria for saying thank you. That criteria that you have is only for you. Everyone else has their own criteria that they share with everyone else. It's a social norm. It's a social code that everyone else but Avrona adheres to. And he's been told the rules. He's been told the rules about this social code, and he just refuses to follow it. It's not that he doesn't know that this is how people act in a society. It's just that he disagrees with it and thinks it's stupid and thinks his way is better. He thinks the current social norms, quote, need changing, and they aren't, quote, efficient. These comments came from a post he made where he was trying to justify himself in that all the bans he had received weren't his fault and were actually everyone else's problem. So there's the link to that thread in the description. I encourage you to go through and read it and see for yourself what Avrona's mindset is regarding social norms, what sort of things are and aren't appropriate. He's saying that he alone is right and the entire rest of society is wrong. That is a gigantic red flag. So let's review our 3 red flags here. The first is he doesn't care about who he hurts as long as he gets what he wants. The second is that he sees accepting advice as being defeated, and he's not really trying to grow, he's just trying to win, he's just trying to gain victory and not be defeated when he's actually asking for advice. The third red flag is that he refuses to conform to social norms around saying please and thank you. He was taught in kindergarten how you should say please or thank you the same as you and I were, but he just rejects that. He thinks it's stupid, and he thinks that he alone has a better system and that everyone else is wrong. And as a result of all these things, bad things keep on happening to Avrona. For example, he gets banned from subreddits and Discord channels. Videos like this continue to get made about him. He gets downvoted, and he has a negative comment karma on Reddit, which bans him from even more channels because you have to have a positive comment karma to post them. And people just get fed up with him and refuse to help him any further because they see how he acts. And I've told Avrona all of this. I've said these are the bad things that keep happening to you because of how you act. You need to change something, or else these bad things will just keep continuing to happen to you. So what are you going to change? His response was nothing. He's just going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. He literally said that. His plan is to just hope. So let's just briefly go over one more time what we've learned so far. Inability to deal with criticism, non-conformity to social norms, has no empathy and doesn't care who he hurts as long as he gets what he wants, views everything as everyone else's fault, sees it as weakness to take advice, doesn't want to change despite seeing the negative outcomes of his previous pattern of behavior. Now let me read off these list of symptoms and see if you see any similarities. Having a sense of superiority and strong, unwavering opinions, not learning from mistakes, not respecting social norms, doesn't feel guilt or remorse, being callous, cynical, or disrespectful of others, hostility, lack of empathy. Does that sound a little bit familiar to what we've observed in Avrona? Now listen to this from the Mayo Clinic and see if this sounds familiar at all. A personality disorder is a type of mental disorder in which you have a rigid and unhealthy pattern of thinking, functioning, and behaving. A person with a personality disorder has trouble perceiving and relating to situations and people. This causes significant problems and limitations in relationships, social activities, work, and school. In some cases, you may not realize that you have a personality disorder because your way of thinking and behaving seems natural to you, and you may blame others for the challenges you face. Reading all of this material, just these symptoms out of context, it makes me think that it might have been autism. For people with autism have trouble learning the social cues and how to interact and how everyone else in a society treats each other. They have to learn it by rote memorization in some cases. Like, for example, when to say thank you and how to recognize what being defensive looks like. Once they are explicitly taught these things, they can alter their behavior and change to fit in. They just don't know about the rules in the first place. But Avrona does not have that excuse. He has been explicitly told the rules. I asked him, is this a cultural thing, or did nobody teach you how to say thank you as a child? And he says, no, all that's fine. I know how to say thank you. He just doesn't do it because he thinks it's stupid. So I think it's unlikely to be autism. Here's another quote. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders says that someone with ASPD consistently shows a lack of regard for others' feelings or violations of people's rights. People with ASPD may not realize that they have these behaviors. They may live their entire lives without a diagnosis. ASPD stands for Antisocial Personality Disorder. That is the official clinical word for being a sociopath or a psychopath. Now that is some pretty heavy stuff. I'm not saying this to insult Avrona, just to provide an explanation. And based on the evidence I've seen, this matches the symptoms almost exactly. I'm not a behavioral psychologist, I'm not a doctor, so of course don't take this as a official diagnosis. I'm just an armchair, psychologist reading stuff online on the internet. So look it up for yourself if you want. Read into it, take some sort of free online test. Don't take my word for it. Seek consultation from a professional, and they can tell you whether or not I'm right. But based on what I've seen, that's the conclusion I've come to. So you're young, Avrona. You're 18? I don't know. You have your whole life ahead of you. And very soon, if you aren't doing it already, you're going to be entering the real adult world with real adult problems. It's not just going to be interactions across the continent over the internet through YouTube arguments and Reddit arguments and Discord arguments. You're not going to get banned from some sort of ephemeral Discord channel. You might get banned from a real brick and mortar physical place like a library or a restaurant. These things that are happening to you now are going to keep happening, and they're going to have worse and worse consequences in real life. You're going to have problems not with online relationships, but with real relationships with girlfriends and wives if you ever get married, with children, with your boss, with your coworkers, with your parents, with your friends. If this behavior that we see from you online is the same as how you act in real life, it's not going to stop, and it's just going to keep worse and worse. And you are either going to end up hurt badly yourself, either physically or emotionally, or you're going to hurt someone else, either physically or emotionally. And I don't want that to happen. That is the worst case scenario. The way to avoid all of that is to seek professional help. But you're not going to do that. You're not going to listen to me. You're going to call me a liar. You're going to say I'm doing this just to hurt you. You're going to justify yourself. You're going to blame everyone else but yourself. You're going to deny everything. You're going to say that this is just some conspiracy, that I'm just out to get you. That's what you're going to do. What you're not going to do is take an online test for personality disorders. You're not going to consult a professional. You're not going to confide in your parents or your friends. You're not going to take anything I said seriously. You're not going to grow on YouTube. You're not going to grow as a person. You're not going to have healthy relationships. And the sad part is there's nothing I or anyone else can do to stop you. The only way that things are ever going to change is if you want it, if you decide to want to change if you decide to take that step to seek professional help. You're just now trying to start your own business. You realize you aren't getting any sales, so you're asking the same questions. What am I doing wrong for your business that you're asking for your YouTube channel? This is a pattern that we can see happen in real time, and it's just going to keep happening, and it's just going to get worse and worse. But one of the symptoms of antisocial personality disorder is that you don't learn from your past mistakes. You just keep trying the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. It's sad that we can see this pattern, but you won't recognize the pattern. We can all see this happening to you and how it's hurting you and how you're hurting others, but there's nothing any of us can do to stop it. So there's nowhere I can go from here. I think I've dug deep enough to find the root of all of these problems without, meeting Avrona in person and being more involved in his personal life. This is the most I can learn over the internet. I think this is just the deepest I can dig. I don't know if there's ever going to be a reason for me to make another video. Maybe if it'll be a response video, but he didn't respond to the last video, so I don't see any reason why he would respond to this one. I make my case so well, I provide all the evidence needed. There's nothing he can say to refute my conclusions. There's no way he can spin this to come out of this looking good. He doesn't want his fans to know about the existence of these videos. So my only hope is that people can find some sort of closure in this video. It would provide a rational, coherent explanation for why Avrona is the way that he is, why he might have hurt you, why he's out there hurting others, that it wasn't done from a place of malice or because Avrona's evil. It's just a personality disorder. That's not to say that he can't help it, that it's not his fault, but it just is what it is. Some people are this way, and the explanation brings us closure. That makes the pain easier. That's what closure is, a resolution. So hopefully we can all move on from this. Hopefully I can move on from this. Hey, if you like my content, make sure to smash that like button. And no, I'm just kidding. That would be funny. I thought it would be funny to do a tone shift between, the downer ending and like the stereotypical YouTube syndrome. You get the joke.